Happy Tuesday! Let's go, guys. Let's go. We've got a lot of big news to cover. The Clarity Act. While a lot of people might not be in tune with what is happening, they're just fixed in on the market being down, down, down. They don't realize that there is actually some extremely big legislation that I feel is holding down the entire market. It's the big battle between the big banks, traditional finance, and us, cryptocurrency. And we've got people on our side and a lot of people not on their side. But there's a White House meeting today, another meeting, closed door meeting, trying to get this ironed out. And so in this video or in this live stream, we're going to go over what is the Clarity Act, and not only that, why is there a hangup of it right now? What's the big battle over stablecoins? And then when the Clarity Act passes, what coins, what projects benefit the most from this legislation? So I'm extremely excited about this. I think it's going to be great, knowledgeable video for you all. I know y'all were very worried about me. I had strep throat yesterday. I actually have one of my kids home with me right now. I said, don't bang on the door unless it's super emergency, and then daddy will come. But anyways, good morning. If you're watching over on YouTube or X, please retweet the live stream so we can get as many people in here as possible. If you don't follow me over on X, it's a good follow. If I must say myself, we're up about 400 followers just this week. So I'm extremely happy to be growing the Finance Freeman family. That's my goal in all of this, is to bring the absolute best crypto content and the no BS content, you know, the truth, my honest opinion of what I think. And if you're over on YouTube, join us there. We're going to have daily long form videos posted. We're going to have the daily live stream as well. So extremely excited about where the channel is growing. Before we get started, just want to say shout out to our stream sponsor, Blofin. This is the official centralized exchange of Finance Freeman. It's where I do all my trading. So if you would like to join, there will be a pinned post on my X, and also there is in the description of the YouTube videos or the streams. But before we get into it, I just want to say, remember, I am not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. I'm just a random guy on YouTube, right? But I have devoted my life to this, my career to this, and I absolutely love finance and everything that goes that goes with it. So without further ado, let's see. What time, sir? It's going to be at 2:30 Eastern. So it's going to be happening pretty soon. This is a closed door meeting. There is not any publicists there, anything like that. But I do think we're going to get some big news, big BTC news today. Maybe not directly BTC news, but we've got big legislation news. And whenever we talk about legislation, the reason a lot of this looks like this, the reason BTC is down for other reasons. I mean, there's obviously, excuse me, other reasons besides this, but BTC is right now not just Bitcoin. Bitcoin's one part of that, right? When you look at digital treasury companies such as MicroStrategy, it's really big to have this type of legislation. What it's mainly about, the Clarity Act, is mainly around stablecoins and decentralized finance. But there's a lot of big money, institutional TradFi money on the sideline that just wants guardrails. They just want to know what they can do, what they can't do, and they're waiting for that clarity to come out. And so that's why one reason I believe that we haven't seen so much interest in BTC lately. So my strategy has pretty much been find a defined range. I personally never financial advice trade the range. Like, for instance, would open up here, try to close here. have tight stop loss, protect capital, protect all of that. And that's the only thing you can do in these bear markets is try to protect capital as much as possible and just use very tight stop losses and everything like that. If anyone's new here, I do have a Discord if anyone wanted to join it, where I post all my trades, stop losses, even stocks. This was BRR, Anthony Pompliano's company, that it's actually up like 25% since that trade. So I would absolutely love to have you. There is a code, I believe, that my wife made me make because she said it's Valentine's Day. So I believe it's code LOVE. I'll try to throw that up here real quick. Code LOVE for 50% off the first month. Love 50, actually. That's what she decided. That's what my beautiful, beautiful wife decided. But we do got Valentine's Day coming up, fellas. So if your wife, your girlfriend tells you, don't worry about getting me anything for Valentine's Day, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. If she tells you not to get her anything for Valentine's Day because maybe money's tight or maybe it's just another holiday, we don't need to get. Don't listen. It's a trap. It's a trap. You're going to be sleeping on the couch for at least 2 to 3 days. At least 2 to 3 days. And you're going to be acting like you're the worst guy. And you're going to say, babe, what's wrong? Nothing. Nothing. Well, you told me not to get you anything for Valentine's Day. Oh, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Been there before, guys. Don't do it. Learn from my mistakes. I'm buying her XRP. I actually made an XRP post earlier. Yeah, so we can dive into XRP, guys. If there's anything y'all want me to look at specifically, please let me know. But a big dump today. We have to see. We have to see. I've went over my thesis of where we are at in the cycle before. I'm more than willing to go over it again. But I do want to get into a little bit about the meeting of what's happening today. And then I want us to go over some videos that we're going to hear about what the different sides are, what the banks are saying, what the banks, I believe, really mean, and what Brian Armstrong from Coinbase, who is really being the largest benefactor, the largest person on our side, I would say, from the crypto side. So you can see this is Eleanor Terrett. I don't believe she's necessarily crypto or anything, but she's just, here's Crypto America, so I guess she is, but former Fox Business. And so she just posts a lot of news, a lot of things like that. And she said, the White House will host representatives from the banking and crypto industry this afternoon, okay, 2:30 p.m. Central or Eastern time. So that right there answers this question that we have. Banks set to attend: Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, BNC, PNC Bank, US Bank, along with trade groups, right? Some of the crypto attendees include I am Paul. He is from Coinbase, their chief legal officer of Coinbase. Mal Jennings, if we look who this is, not 100% familiar with this gentleman. A16Z, we know that. And Summer of Blockchain. So we've got people on our side, people on the other side. I seen this comment, hey, Brian Armstrong, why don't you guys agree to move the stablecoin stuff to its own bill? And I don't think that's a good idea at all. I think we need to close the Clarity Act and get the stablecoin yield. But I want to go to a video, Clarity Act update, please. That is what we are doing throughout this entire video. And it's going to be, as you can see right here, it's the initial or this round of meeting is going to be 2:30 p.m. Eastern time today. So I think this is a very big potential catalyst that we have coming up for crypto. But throughout this, we're going to go over what is the Clarity Act, but then what are the tokens, what are the coins, what are the cryptos that I'm looking at that could be the largest beneficiaries of this when we're sitting here in a sea of red. But I want to come over here and watch the video from Davos. Okay, this was the World Economic Forum that happened a little bit ago. And I want to give my commentary on this. This is a clip from CNBC, but this was posted directly from Brian Armstrong talking about what happened last week and what the overall hangup is. And I think this is how we have to view it from the side of cryptocurrency. So let's open this up. Let me close that right there and let's get into it.
Tell us what happened exactly last week.
Yeah, so last year we got the Genius Act passed. That was a great piece of legislation for crypto. And now what everyone's working on is called market structure, right, the non-stablecoin crypto assets. And there's been a ton of hard work. You know, the Senate has been amazing to work with. There's a lot of constituents coming in to offer their opinion, including the crypto industry. And of course, Coinbase has a point of view, although we don't represent the crypto industry. And we saw some draft text midnight on Monday night.
Right.
Our lawyers started looking at it on Tuesday. I was in DC on Wednesday. We started to notice some pretty serious issues in the draft text that we had a concern with, and it didn't appear to be a plan to actually get that fixed coming out of a Senate Banking Committee markup. And so we actually felt like we had an obligation to go out and defend our customers' rights and say, we have some issues here. We were careful not to comment on what the Senate should do in terms of markup or not, but they did decide to postpone it. And so now there's an opportunity for us to come back and chat with the banks.
So the big hangup is all around stablecoin yields with the Clarity Act. And I've said this before, but the main hangup right now is that big banks do not believe that Coinbase, for instance, as an exchange, should be able to offer stablecoin yields or interest. You know, if you put your money in a bank, they will give you a very low interest rate, maybe 0.01%. for keeping your money in a traditional savings account. All right. I'm not talking about money market funds. I'm talking about traditional checking and traditional saving accounts. Where this comes from is that the banks are saying that there is not the same regulation with Coinbase as there is with the banks. But what they're missing, or what they understand and they just don't want to admit, is that the reason that banks have so much scrutiny is because they do what's called fractionalized lending. And it's not something you opt into. It's just a part of the banking system, where if you give them $100, they can actually lend out $800 or $900. So your money is being multiplied when you put it in a bank, and they're paying you squat, absolutely nada, like it's bad, like get rid of that, right? And what Brian Armstrong's point is from the last act. So the current legislation, the Clarity Act, has passed the House, but it's now hung up in the Senate. Okay, the last legislation that came through was called the Genius Act, and it required stablecoins to be backed 1-to-1. There is no fractionalized lending when it comes to stable coins because they are backed 1-to-1 with short-term US Treasury. So in my eyes, and I know I'm biased because I'm crypto native and I love cryptocurrency, but it seems like stable coins are a better, safer alternative than keeping, money in the bank. And sure, banks are insured FDIC insurance, but that's only up to $250,000. Now, yes, $250,000 is a lot of money, right? But there's also a lot of people that have a lot more money than that, right? And so you have to look at different ways to ensure that. And what Brian Armstrong's saying, if you have USDC on Coinbase, they don't automatically lend it out and give you 5%, right? It's something that you have to opt into. However, whenever you take a look at the banking industry, you don't opt into that. Maybe you signed something on the, terms and conditions, but I don't even think you do that. I think that it is just baked into the banking system that we have so far. And so there's been a lot of pressure right now from the White House, from Scott Bessent, about getting this passed. And Brian Armstrong and the crypto community's, overall take on this is that we would rather have no legislation than bad legislation. And I think where the White House is coming from is that they see this chart, right? If we come over on Blofin and we go back and we look, this has been rough on BTC, right? If we just go back to, this is not even a month ago, BTC was at 97K and it went down over 38%. We are now down 50%. And remember, he is supposed to be the crypto president, right? And we're down 52% from the all-time highs. And we have midterms coming up in the United States coming up very soon right now. And the red or the Republicans are actually probably going to lose that. And there's a reason why that could potentially be bullish also. But my whole point in explaining that is not to give my ideology. I don't really care too much about politics. I just want what's best for crypto and what's best for finance. But there's a lot of push to get this done. And so if we look on Coin Bureau, they posted this Fox clip, and we're going to look at it in just a second. But it says, Bessent says that other actors are blocking the crypto bill because they'd rather have no legislation than one that they dislike. And he's specifically talking here, I think, about Brian Armstrong. You know, that mirrors Coinbase's stance, with Brian Armstrong saying he'd rather have no bill than a bad bill. Finally caught a live. Welcome in, man. We're talking about the Clarity Act and how it affects cryptocurrency. But if you can't catch the live, guys, you can always come watch it pre-recorded. Yesterday, we had like 400 people in here. It was awesome. And then also, there's a ton of clips. If we come over here to Finance Freeman's X account, you can see the clips are just going all over the place, getting really good views. We had one go over 50,000 views, which I was very happy about. But let's dive into this, what Scott Bessent is saying, the Secretary of Treasury, because there's a lot of pressure right now from the big banks and from the White House for crypto, Brian Armstrong of Coinbase, to kind of roll over and give the big banks everything that they want.
Quick on this crypto legislation that seems to be hung up in the Senate. Secretary, do you expect that the Clarity Act will in fact come back for a markup? And why are we having a debate about bank margins? Where do you stand on this? Do you think crypto platforms should be able to pay rewards, pay customers for moving stablecoin or money out of traditional bank deposit accounts and keep them on crypto platforms? Where are you on that issue?
Again, Maria, I think what we're seeing in the crypto market over the past few months means more than ever that the U.S., we need market structure, we need clarity, and we need to get this.
Bro does not answer the question. Do you think Coinbase should be able to offer yield? I think we need to get it passed. I think we need. Come on, dude, answer the question.
Across the line this spring, we got a few recalcitrant actors who said, well, it'd be better to have no legislation than the legislation we don't want. And I think both on the banks, the other crypto firms are united against them. So we need to get this across the line. The U.S. Under President Trump's leadership, the U.S. is becoming the crypto capital of the world with our best practices, best regulation, and for crypto to remain a viable digital asset and move forward, we need to get this Clarity Act done.
So you think it'll come back fairly soon then?
I'm optimistic, and there's bipartisan support here.
Quick on.
So I don't like that take at all. You know, I don't think that Brian Armstrong should be spoken to about like that. I think that he's trying to do what's best for the people. And it's true. Why should all these banks continue to get richer and richer and richer, holding our money, lending our money out 8, 9, 10 times over, yet not giving us absolutely any yield for it, you know? And him saying just because one person doesn't like it, they'd rather have no bill. That stuff happens all the time in politics. There's red lines all the time we just had a 45-day government shutdown recently. Like, or even maybe longer. Like, what are you talking about? Obviously, there's red lines in there. So my take on this is let's let stablecoin yield be there, okay? And in the Genius Act, it's already there where banks can make their own stablecoin. So if they want to go through USDC Circle to make a JP Morgan stablecoin, for instance, then they should be able to do that and compete on a level playing field. But the White House feels like they're turning against us. You know, maybe I don't want to get all too into this, but you know, this was supposed to be the crypto president, right? We seen the price of BTC do amazing. All of that is good. We know that World Liberty Financial, all of that, they made tons and tons of money off of us while we're sitting here still going to work, still refreshing our wallets, looking at the price being down, down, down. And then we get this kind of rhetoric of saying that we should just pass a bill just for the sake of passing a bill. I do not agree with that. And I'm standing behind Brian Armstrong for fighting against the big banks. We should just all play on a level playing field. But, you know, banks are kind of scared of that. Like, what do you mean level playing field? So all of these, you mean if we issue a stable coin, it has to be backed 1-to-1 with U.S. Treasuries, short-term U.S. Treasuries? What? I would much rather just be able to take in $100 and lend out $900. Duh. But that's not what's best for crypto. That's not what's best for the consumer. It's what's best for the big banks. It's what's best for the big money. And trust me, there's a lot of big money fighting against this right now. But shout out to Brian Armstrong. I'm so grateful that we have him on our side. There's a lot of people that, you know, give him a hard time about what's going on with everything, with Coinbase customer support, yada, yada, yada. But he's done a lot for crypto. He really has done a lot for crypto. You know, when they started out, it was really just a place to buy BTC. But they have stood up against the old SEC about different things such as Tornado Cash. They even put out this Super Bowl commercial, which a lot of people liked. I'm not saying I necessarily liked it. Look, we can take a look at it right here. I don't want to play the music behind it because that might be like a copyright thing. But basically, this was a song from the Backstreet Boys. They put it on the Sphere. They put it on during the Super Bowl, where it's kind of like karaoke. There was background music playing and people were supposed to sing along. And then at the end it said Coinbase. I've seen a lot of people saying this was really good. I don't know. Let me know y'all's opinion down below, what you think. I sold BTC at 72. Let's have more context. You sold BTC at 72. When did you buy it? Did you buy it at 102, 122? Or did you catch the dip at 60 and sell it at 72? You know, I think it's a lot of a big thing. Win clarity. Yeah, thank you for just joining. There's a meeting today that's going on at 2:30 Eastern. So, and we're talking about how does the Clarity Act affect us? Why big banks are fighting against stablecoin yield, and what are going to be these cryptos that benefit the most from it, guys? So if you're just joining in, just finding the channel, please subscribe on YouTube, put on the bell notification. Got over 500 videos. I've been at this for a couple years now. Daily live streams, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. But throughout all of this, I don't think we can deny that Bitcoin's lost a little bit of the hype train. And how I believe this works is I believe that institutions come in and they buy up everything, right? And then they create the hype, because then that's when retail comes in, and that's how the BlackRocks of the world, that's how these large institutions of the world make money, you know? And so I want to get to this in a minute, and then we'll get to some more questions. But this is Kramer, and he's known for being inverse Kramer, that everything he says, do the opposite, and you'll be well off. But let's listen to this.
Even in today's dramatic rebound, Bitcoin still feels like it's lost its luster. The precipitous decline of the cryptocurrency occurring at the same time as a weakening dollar calls into question whether it's a real storehold of value or even a hedge against inflation. We know nothing. This volatile thing we used to think it could be a currency. That's obviously not going to happen. It's a great speculative asset, I guess, until it started plummeting. Even in today's...
What a goofball. I don't know. I like him, actually. I think he's entertaining, but you know, I've never had the belief that Bitcoin was like really going to take over the world with the currency. I really think it should be looked at as a store of value. But there is legislation that needs to come in for people to have that. So let's see. Let's get to some question. Does stablecoin yield affect atom yield? I mean, this could affect. So you're getting a little ahead of me, Ashley. Thank you. This is going to affect everything that offers yield. And some of the tokens that I think will benefit from it the most are actually proof of stake tokens that offer yields. You know, like if banks are able to buy Ethereum, for instance, buy Solana, for instance, and stake it, and get the 8% yield from that, while at the same time recommending it to their customers, actively buying it, managing those portfolios. I think all of that is going to benefit from it. After 1 hour, yeah. So this is a closed door meeting today. I'm sure if it's super bullish, what we're going to hear is that, we're going to hear something this afternoon about it from the White House. If there's no news from it, then we probably won't hear anything about it right now. So let's go look at the White House and see if they have mentioned anything regarding it. They're live right now. Let's see what this is. Press secretary. So this is just the press secretary daily meeting kind of thing. But and so here's another one about the future outlook of what I'm thinking about Bitcoin. This was back when the price was 115, but we've already seen, USA say they're not selling any more Bitcoin. But there was something very interesting that happened recently, and I want to look that up also, because there was a rumor that the United States bought Bitcoin at 60K. And let me see if we can find this video, but it was on CNBC, and it was them talking about filling the strategic reserve. Here it is right here. Let's take a look.
Do you think that the president is going to fill the Bitcoin reserve?
I don't know. That will
Well, that's
be
what I
a
heard at
big
60.
deal.
I heard at 60 he's going to fill the Bitcoin reserve. You better cover.
Do you think that Trump is serious about creating this Bitcoin reserve, and how would that work?
I think he is. And, if you think about the Louisiana Purchase, California, and Alaska, we paid $40 million to buy 75% of the United States. Nobody remembers the $40 million.
So to put this into a series of events, Michael Saylor was seen with Trump at, I don't know if it was Mar-a-Lago or if it was the White House, but whatever that party was, he was seen with Trump. Okay. Then CNBC came out, and you know how it is. Insiders hear about stuff before any of us, right? We're the last ones to hear about it. We are retail. We are retail, my friends. We're the last ones to hear about it. And so what if the White House did purchase, BTC? Previously, their stance had been that they're just not going to sell it, whether that's confiscated Bitcoin or what. They're just not going to sell it. But what if they are filling it? Now, it would be interesting how they went about filling it, because if you look, Congress has the purse, which means that the White House can't spend money that's not allocated through Congress. But you have seen the president do different things. They sent out military stimulus checks from the tariff bucket, the money that came through with tariffs. And so it'd be very interesting if they did have buy orders. You've seen the Coinbase index went up during, it went up high. That means a lot of people are buying crypto. And if you kind of look at this wick, look at that. Like, it marked the exact bottom. And I'm sure there's a lot of normal people with orders, a lot of institutions, but right here on Blofin, it pegged or bottomed out at 60,019. So what if we do hear it come out that the United States is actively purchasing BTC? Now, I guarantee you that'll give a lot of, rift with Congress, and they're going to fight it. And then there will probably be rumors coming out of, USA is going to have to sell their Bitcoin, blah, 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 blah. But, either way, I think that there is a big opportunity for the United States to lead in Bitcoin adoption. And so I want to listen to this other video and comment on it. They are saying XRP might get yield. Yeah, let's go over XRP in a little bit. I actually made a post about XRP recently that we can go over, Ashley. Thank you for joining us today. It's the first time I've seen you here. So thank you very much. I'm very happy to have you as a part of the Finance Freeman family. We need to retweet this, guys. If you're on X, if you're on YouTube, share it with a friend, share it with an amiga, And let's get as many people joining the Finance Freeman family as humanly possible. But let's listen to this clip and then I'll read.
Government is going to begin holding Bitcoin. I think that's going to be a massive driver of demand, and the rest of the G20 countries will probably follow suit. And then the last thing I'd say is that we saw recently the launch of the Bitcoin ETFs by a number of different firms, and Coinbase is actually powering 80% of the custody for those that are out there. But we're seeing a ton of institutional money continue to flow into Bitcoin now that these ETFs are live. So there's a lot of positive tailwinds for Bitcoin, and I think that there's never going to be more than 21 million Bitcoin ever made in the world, and lots of pools of capital still haven't gotten access to it. So that tells me this thing has a long way to run. We also saw...
So let's unpack what Brian Armstrong said there. You know, obviously there's a lot of countries that hold BTC right now. So let's come over here to ChatGPT. What countries hold BTC and how much? So you can see US has, you know, upwards of 300,000, China 190,000. You know, there's a lot of countries that have a lot of BTC, right? But they're not actively growing it. The only one that's actively growing it is El Salvador. El Salvador actually made it, like, I don't know if it's officially their, like, one of their national currencies, but they are very big. Like you can see here, true sovereign reserve strategy, like treating Bitcoin as a part of national reserves, is officially confirmed for a few countries, especially the United States and Salvador. And so what happens when gold is running up, right? If we come look at gold right here, or it's going to be like UAX, probably UAG. Maybe it's not there. Let's come over here to Trading View and we'll take a look. But, you know, there's been a lot of buying from China, from different countries of gold, right? But it just hasn't happened yet for BTC. So we went over this in yesterday's live stream that the United States currently on their balance sheet values their gold at like $43 an ounce. And you can see that last time gold was $43 an ounce was a very long time ago. If you were alive when gold was $43 an ounce, let me know. But I seriously doubt it. So if we come over here, $43 an ounce was like right here before this huge run up. So if we really take a look at that, BTC, or I mean gold, is undervalued on the United States balance sheet by about 100x. Okay, by about 100x. So what would happen if they revalued that gold to even say these levels, 500 or 1500 or heck 5,000? You probably wouldn't want to do that because you wouldn't want to be at a loss if ever. But then they could give those certificates to the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve could essentially print money for the United States. That's how that works. And so that's been something that has been talked about a lot. If we come over here and just look at revalue US gold, see if we can find anything about it. So the asset that makes the most sense to monetize is gold. A revaluation whose gold price is roughly 21,000 and the US gold reserves would then be valued at 5 trillion. So you can see the United States values the gold very, very lowly. Okay. And this is Scott Bessent talking a little bit about it. Let's listen to this.
The other day when the Sovereign Wealth Fund was announced, President Trump surprised me in the Oval and said, "Could you make a few remarks?" And I said, "Well, we're going to mobilize the asset side of the balance sheet." And all the gold bugs said he's going to revalue the gold. Yeah. I can say today we're not revaluing the gold.
So there, he said that was a while back that he's not going to revalue the gold. But what I want to get into is what are the cryptocurrencies that will benefit the most from legislation, from this type of legislation, while we're sitting here, fear and greed index of 10, we're at dang near all-time lows. Like you can see, we hit 5 this year. We're up a 2x from that, so that's great, but I can't share your live. Someone told me they can't share the live. I don't know why. If someone can try to retweet the live on X and let me know if you can't share it, I'll have to try to figure out what the problem is there. But what are the cryptos that'll benefit the most from it? Is weird. Typically my live would pop up right here on the post. So a little interesting to see. Huh. Yeah, that's definitely weird. Maybe it's not popping up on people's timeline for some reason. But because typically we have like 400 people in here. But I'll figure that out separately. But let's take a look at what will benefit the most from legislation, and I think yield-bearing tokens will benefit the most from this. Even something like Ethereum. If we take a look at Ethereum, this thing has been, you could call it one of the worst investments in cryptocurrency if you just look for the last, 4 years. I mean, basically, when we take a look at this has just held this line, and we're basically at that trend line right here that is going back to this bottom in 2020. This bottom in 2022, this bottom in April of 2025. And then here we are. That puts it around 1,600. But, this is proof of stake. It offers yields. And we already know that Ethereum is huge. Well, Ethereum is not leaving anytime soon. Just because of the simple fact, if we come over here to DeFi Llama and take a look at actual total value locked for chains, Ethereum's leading the way. Like, there is no doubt about it. Ethereum's leading the way. Look at this. ETH alone is 58% of all of DeFi. What does DeFi include? That includes real world assets. That includes artificial intelligence. It includes all of that. So there is a big, big reason that Ethereum's going to be okay. Now, Ethereum's been in this long consolidation phase, right? It barely even eclipsed a new all-time high. If we take a look at it, it made a new all-time high by like $20, right? What a joke. But other things that could benefit from it are definitely XRP. If this is true, and I would like to see if you could share something, Ashley, of where this came from, but of the XRP yield, I think XRP could benefit from it. I actually made a post about XRP earlier today showcasing that, it fell. XRP capitulated under a key support and last cycle's all-time high, but I do remain extremely bullish on XRP. Infrastructure continues to mature, real-world adoption is inevitable, and market cap is still 85 billion. Like, this is not a small token by any means, but you can see the last cycle's all-time high that was up here at about $1.60, $1.80. You can see that has been lost, but we also have to think of the dominance that XRP has had this cycle. It became the number 4 cryptocurrency, but I also think Solana could benefit a lot. There's a lot of talk of tokenizing assets on Solana. Stock market is being tokenized partly on Solana, nowhere near what's going to be happening with Ethereum. I believe Solana had another network outage. It's been a long time since they've had one, but it is something that happens. And Ethereum has had 0 network outages of all time. So I definitely think that all of those are going to benefit from it. But if we just come over here and take a look at DeFi and come over here to categories and look at DeFi, you can really get a kind of a glimpse of yield-bearing tokens and what they're going to be able to produce. Aave, I believe it's a big catalyst for Aave. If you look, Aave is down 10%. This is like the number 1 lending platform on Ethereum. A lot of people lend there. And so I believe that all of this is going to be a beneficiary from the overall Genius Act. But if we take a look, BTC is just still ranging. Let's come to this low time frame. If you even kind of look right here, and if we draw a new line from here to here, we have another resistance right there. And so this is going to take time. I explained yesterday in the live stream that this is something that, you know, the market's not just going to dip and come back instantly. We've got a lot of things that are, you know, also playing into consideration with this. If we come over here and look at the Qs in the stock market, you see, we're at all-time highs. Like, this is a parabolic move from 2002. Even if we come here from 2008, we've basically been straight up. Okay. That is a stock market that's going to eventually need time to breathe. But there is some big catalysts coming up with the Genius Act, with everything that they're doing that's already been passed, with the Clarity Act that's about to come out. And then obviously, you know, when we have institutional money coming in and all that stuff, it's all going to be big. But let's come over here and take a little look at CT, what crypto Twitter is talking about, how they feel right now. I mean, honestly, guys, it's been filling down. What is this? Mega ETH mainnet has been live for less than 24 hours. The first days of a new chain are always the most important for spotting new opportunities, but early data analysis might be confusing. What a horrible name. Who would name a chain Mega ETH? Like, it just sounds like a scam. Like, I don't, you know, I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that it's definitely, you know, top 3 worst names I've ever seen. I've never seen a worse name than this one, Eunice Seed Leo. But let's go look at Mega ETH. I don't think it's even here right now. Look at all this yield opportunities though with DeFi. But I don't like the Bitcoin yield. I don't like any of that because it's not true Bitcoin yield. So they're like obviously lending your stuff out, right? Or something like that. But the native yield is what's going to be the largest benefits from it. But we definitely have a problem going on X right now, guys, because for some reason my live stream's not popping up here. That's why we don't have like 400 people in here. Let me see if I can retweet this. Huh. Very weird. Very, very, very weird. Some bug going on, I guess. But let's come over here, see if there's been any recent updates on the Clarity Act while we're here. Once the Clarity Act passes, XRP will skyrocket past $24. Just got the alert that I was live, or that that I retweeted that post. If somebody's on X, can y'all please look and see, like, if you go to my page, do you see it posted? Because I'll show you how it typically looks. It typically will look like this. You know, like this is when I was live yesterday. It looked just like this, you know, 758 viewers concurrently, or not concurrently, but so we definitely got a problem going on, but the show must go on and we're not going to stop. If we're YouTube only, we're YouTube only, baby. I'm not worried about it. Let me see. Yeah, my wife texted me. She's like, I don't see it. I don't see it. It's okay. It's okay. Let's come over here and look. Sam Bankman-Fried. You guys think Elon Musk going to carry someone rogue coins? No. U.S. stock trading hits 1 trillion in a day, highest level since 2022. Retweet. Yeah, I don't know what's going on X. Maybe something's bugging today. I don't know. CZ, you'll soon have thousands of AI agents working for you. Turns out he was telling the truth when asked if Trump was an FBI informant. Yeah, this was interesting. That it looks like this is Epstein stuff, but Trump said Maxwell was Epstein's operative. She is evil and to focus on her. So, yeah, it's kind of funny how all that came out. But, you know, this is a catalyst for us, definitely, and something that should be concerning. You know, the official government numbers were like 2.7% for inflation, but Trueflation is showing us at like 0.7%, which this would be considered disinflation. So just a reduction of inflation. But if we get into a deflationary time where this number is negative, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And it's not something that we want. And that would bring like major money printing coming up, right? There's no other way about it. Like they would have to get rid of that disinflation. Let's take a look. Perp is shorting now. Spot demand is falling. This is a bearish sign for BTC. Yeah. And if you're just joining, guys, like I said, the sponsor of our stream and the exchange that I use is Blofin. There will be a link down below. But yeah, it looks like the dip was bought. And I mean, I couldn't blame people if they bought this dip, like if they literally had a 60K buy order in and then they went up 20%, you know, in their financial advice. But I could definitely see a reason why people would want to take those profits, especially in a market that's looking a little frothy right now. Okay. Today's news, Bitcoin traders debate if 69K's market, bear market bottom or deeper drop. Y'all know my opinion on that. I do not believe that the low is in. Let's see. Benjamin Cohen, somebody I have a lot of respect for, especially his technical analysis. Hey, yeah, nothing live showing there. Yeah, very weird. I don't know why. I deleted the retweet. Let me retweet it again. Yeah, because this is typically how it looks, right? It typically looks like this. And, you know, I've got a life hack for you right now. So you see I'm in a white shirt today, but sometimes I'm in a black shirt. And I'm not wearing the same shirt all the time. I told my wife I need 5 black shirts, 5 white shirts. I'm too busy, and I'm too busy working, and I'm not smart enough, or I'm not like a designer kind of guy. I don't care about my shirts. I want 5 or 10 black shirts. I want 5 or 10 white shirts, and I want to be able to go to the closet and boom, pull one off every day, clean, not the same shirt, and put it on and be done with it. That's exactly what I want. Yeah, numbers are jumping up now, guys. I don't know what's going on, why this wasn't being shared to X, but we're here now, baby. We're here now. We're here. Look, there we go. Caleb reposted the stream. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, X was very weird. What we basically have been highlighting is that we have the White House will host representatives from the banking and crypto industry about stable coins. And the main hangup right now is stable coin yields, okay? Because the big banks do not want us to be paid. The big banks want to be greedy. The big banks want to take everything from us. You will be poor and own nothing. Sam Bankman-Fried, the convicted founder of Clapped cryptocurrency exchange FTX, has filed a motion seeking a new trial in his fraud case. According to recent reports from today, SPF submitted a prosing motion representing himself without a lawyer in Manhattan federal court. Wow. Man, what if SPX gets freed? That'd be kind of crazy, right? Yeah, I'm really sorry for anyone on X that's just now joining. Normally, this post, just like it did yesterday and it did every day, that kind of messed us up, this right here. You know, because like yesterday we had like over 400 people. live. And so, let's see. I posted this clip. This did very good. Let's take a look at this. It said, I'm buying a lot of crypto over the next 3 months. Not random bags, not hype. I'm being extremely selective. AI, Tau, RWA, Ondo, and Canton. Privacy, ZEC and XMR. Next gen layer ones, Cas and Algo. I had a lot of people say Algo is not new. It's not new, but they are definitely building. And I'm actually going to have Algorand up, trying to get them up tomorrow. And they are going to explain to us what they are building. They're also a partner of the channel, and I have a ton of respect for them. But let's take a look at, you know, what I was basically saying here. I think we do have to be very selective. Don't think we're ever going to see a time again where you could just blindly throw a dart at something, you know, and make a 20x or whatever, like it was, you know, last cycle. Sorry, guys, I was on mute. I said I was trying to do a giveaway. I bet on or predicted on a safety, $41, would have won 587. I was going to give it away, but I ended up losing it. So it's a part of it. But, you know, I think that we all have to keep our composure in these times. It's Taco Tuesday. My wife always does Taco Tuesdays. But, you know, we can't be like Sailor. We can't, you know, buy more expensive than what the price is actually worth. Like, how did Sailor, seriously, Sailor posted this yesterday, spent $90 million hairs. Like, this isn't like what I'm buying, like, you know, a couple $1,000 or something. Look, $90 million at 76K per BTC. Like, when was the last time BTC was 76K? Like right here. February 1st. So he posted this on February 9th. And since then, BTC had been 60K. Like horrible, horrible. It's like, how can you do that for shareholders? How aren't people absolutely dumping your you know, stock? There was something that I got into yesterday, and I'll highlight a little bit. It's BRR. I think this is interesting. It's at ICO, this Anthony Pompliano's company. And it ICO'd around like $10, right? And it hit these lows, and I put something in Discord that I got some at 209, okay? And it was up like 20%. But what they're doing is pretty interesting. And so let's come back over here to X, and I'll show you. This is a Bitcoin company, Anthony Pompliano, right here. And so they acquired this AI platform. As you can see, ProCap Financial has entered into an agreement to acquire SVO Silva, become the first publicly traded agentic finance firm. And they've got a lot of things on their balance sheet, over 5K BTC, 70 million cash. Pretty interesting. He was on CNBC talking about it. That's kind of where the price increase came from and everything. Let's get to this question. When does altcoins actually begin to move? We've been moving, dude. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, man? If you haven't been seeing altcoins move, then what have you been looking at, man? Look at this. I'm about to show you something. Look, we've been moving. We've been moving down. We've been moving down. No, I'm just joking. I know you're talking about moving the other way. Okay, so let's break this down. So if we come over here to Trading View, let me pull up my chart. I posted this when BTC was around, let's go to the other one. I don't want to mess up my chart. I posted this when BTC was at like 90K, okay? 97K actually. It was like 96, 97K, like right up here. And I posted that I think we are going lower. And obviously everyone at that time was like, what do you mean we're going to a new all-time high? And I thought we could have came up here to like 107 and formed, you know, a head and shoulders. but this really wouldn't be categorized as a head and shoulders. You want to see proportion with the head and shoulders, which would mean that you would want like these shoulders to be about the same height, and we didn't see that. But, if we take a look at this chart, there's a lot of data behind this chart right here. And this chart is going back to 2017 when BTC was like $1,600. And so there's a few things that we can look at right here to see. Not only do we have a ton of touch points, right, all along this, but if we come up here to the indicators and we type in simple moving average, okay, and we want to get to the 200 week, okay, and I'm on the daily, so we would do 200 times 7, which is 1,400, okay, and so let's change this to 1,400, and let's take a look. So you could see where we lie for that. So not only is this the trend line, but this is also the 200-week simple moving average right here around 58K. Now, you will see in the past, this has been a bear market bottom, type of identifier. However, there's been times we've dropped underneath it, right? So it's not necessarily the low, right? Right there we dropped 27, percent below it. But what it does tell me is that it's a good level for me personally, never financial advice to DCA. I actually had an order for one full BTC at 58.1. It did not execute. Had it would have executed, I'm not going to lie, maybe I would have taken profits at 72 just because of where I think the market's going. And so what I kind of expect, and like I said, none of this is financial advice, but we have a new Fed chair coming in May. So this right here is what I think is happening for Bitcoin. And we can revisit this in 6 months and see if I was right or wrong. But what my personal opinion is that we're waiting on market clarity, which right now might not be until Q3. Okay, I don't think Brian Armstrong is going to roll over and say, you know what, we don't need stablecoin yield, right? That's a very big part of their business model. And so I don't think they're going to roll over on that with the Clarity Act, and I hope they don't. And so I would rather that be prolonged. I would rather no legislation than bad legislation. I'm a part of that camp. So we've got that going on. We've also got probably 0 odds of a Fed rate cut, until the new Fed chair comes in. We're 36 days away, but if you look, we're currently at 350 to 375 basis points, and the odds of a rate cut is only 20%, okay, which those are actually raising up. If you look right here, a week ago, it was only 10% chance. And so now it's all the way up to 20. And that's probably because we're seeing, pain in the markets. The unemployment numbers went up. If we come look at April, the odds of that are that, still 58, 60% chance that we don't get a cut. 36% chance that we are a quarter point lower. If you go to June, this would be the first meeting that we have a new Federal Reserve chair in. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see this number right here, which would be a 0.5% cut, really go up a lot, because Trump isn't going to put somebody in that's not going to cut rates. And so if we look at this number right here, you can see they're all kind of growing. Like this would be the equivalent of a 0.5 point cut. This would be the equivalent of a 3/4 point cut. So you can see the 3/4 point cut went from 0.7. Now, a week ago, 0.7%. Now it's up to 3%. If you look here, the 0.5 point cut from now went 5 to 23. And so how that loops into BTC and why I'm talking about it is because it's liquidity. I think that the reason Bitcoin sold off early isn't just independent of BTC. I do think that there was some things that hurt us with the 1010 liquidation. I think some market makers, some companies might be going out of business that we haven't heard of yet. Maybe an exchange. There's a lot of FUD about Binance being insolvent, but the new Fed comes in May. Yes, correct. The new Fed comes May 15th or 16th, okay? And so that lines up with cuts at least like if Jerome Powell doesn't cut anymore, right, through the rest of his time, and it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't. If he doesn't, then we're going to get rate cuts whenever the new Fed chair comes. But it's not like you cut rates and next thing you know, everybody has all this money, right? It takes time to flow through the system. Any time of quantitative or fiscal easing policy takes time to roll through the system. And so my thesis behind all of this is that if we come and look at this time frame, and let me draw a line for Q3. So if we come over here, October, okay, if we come look at October right here, I think that, we're kind of going to be consolidating, maybe get a dip under this trend line and reclaim it. But the few things that we have coming for us in like October timeframe is one, it's the historical time from a bear market, which is about 365 days. Okay, so that's a year out from that. It's also a few months after a new fiscal policy, the new Fed chair. Liquidity should be lighter. And it's also the third thing that matches up with this is that we're going to have the Clarity Act passed by then, hopefully, and a good Clarity Act passed by then. And so that's kind of the time frame that I think. If we go back to like last bear market and we look at, let's say November 2022 is when BTC bottomed. If we come over here and take a look at ETH, I believe it bottomed a little bit earlier. So if we go to last cycle, you can see ETH actually bottomed in June, whereas BTC bottomed right here. Okay. And so the difference between that from an alt perspective was about 23% that Ethereum had pumped at the time that BTC found the bottom. And I'm kind of expecting something similar to that. Because, like this person said, like Money Talk said, this has been the worst bull market I've ever seen. Some people think that. It really just depends what you were invested in, right? Like if somebody caught this bottom right here, I think they thought it was a pretty good one, right? Put 50K into it, leave with 350, put $1 million into it, leave with 7 mil. I mean, so it's all perspective. For alts, it's definitely been a bad cycle overall because we had a meme season, we had an AI season, but nothing really lasted. And it's really, in my opinion, because we've got too much fluff. Go back and watch a couple of the live streams from last week where we were reviewing the top cryptocurrencies. We reviewed 0 through 100. And, a lot of them we can send to the trash. Like, there's not a whole bunch of them that are worth it, And so we have a lot of fluff in the markets. I think that a lot of these could go to 0, should go to 0. And when they do, I believe that liquidity will concentrate into the good assets. If we're looking here at BTC, 1.3 trillion. If we add Tether, which is 184 billion, if we add Circle right there, so the stable coins is $250 billion, Bitcoin is 1.375. So we can say about 2.7 is stable coins and Bitcoin, with a 2.34 overall market cap. So that's about 600 billion wrapped up in alts. And when you look at, the top 5 or 6, Ethereum's sitting there with like 30% of that, right? XRP's got 10, 15% of that. BNB has 10, 15% of that. And so then you get down here to the single digit billions, and then you get down here to the hundreds of millions. And so there's just a lot of fluff that's taken a lot of liquidity, right? I mean, if your pie is this big and you got to divide it up into 200, but 150 of those are spoiled. If you didn't have those, then the good quality alts will be doing good. We reviewed yesterday altcoins that y'all wanted me to look at that I hadn't heard of before. Maybe I had heard of some of them, but we did kind of a mini deep dive on some of these assets. And, there's just so much that I've never heard of, that you've never heard of. It's just because we have too much stuff. And I think that's why we have seen, what some people would call the worst bull market ever. Let's see. It's like bills, like a month in the hole. Yeah. So basically no big moves for a few months. That's what I think. You know, there may be a few runners. I bought 2 Bitcoin at 15K, so been good, but not for my alt. Did you take any profit on the BTC? I'm just curious if you don't mind sharing. I would like to see, or if you're, you know, hodling forever, because with the ETFs, with institutional adoption, you know, ETFs don't hodl. They have fiduciary duties to do what's best for their shareholders, for the people that are buying the, you know, whatever these assets are. And ETFs are just a proxy to buy Bitcoin, right? When you see BlackRock 500 billion in outflows, you know, we can come look at what's going on with the ETFs, but it's not like BlackRock's deciding to sell. It's people deciding to sell, people that bought into the ETFs, right? And so that gets misconstrued a lot by people that don't know what they're talking about. And it's kind of like a clickbait thing, you know, oh my gosh, the ETFs are selling, blah, 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 blah. When really it's just the people are buying the ETFs, and the ETFs have to do either buy or sell depending on what their people are doing. So you can see ETF net flows 200 million. This was 2 days ago, the last time it was updated. But you can see last month was negative for them. If we come back kind of all time, you can kind of see that we've plateaued, you know. Assets under management as a percentage of market cap, you know, BTC obviously leading the way. IBIT, this is the #1 trust, essentially, ETF, essentially, and it had major outflows. I think we're seeing some of these go under right now. You know, obviously MicroStrategy is continuing to top blast, but you know, some of these smaller ones, like, there's no reason for this, you know. There's no reason to have all these random companies. Like, I know I told y'all BRR, but I'm really into that, not because they're holding BTC, but because they're moving in this AI finance realm. They Anthony Pompliano called them the first AI agentic publicly traded company. So I'm interested in that, right? But I'm not interested in seeing a whole bunch of institutions own BTC. It gets away from what the core of BTC is, right? And that's why I'm so big on Kaspa. It's something that I love. I truly believe it solved the trilemma as long as they can get fees. If they can get fees coming on Kaspa, then it's going to be everything. Here's a video I posted earlier today. I'm a verified coin market cap partner. You can see big hard fork coming up that's going to be able to generate fees eventually, and that's what's needed. And we can go through this video a little bit, and I'll show you all.
I started a business to give both boats a new life, and Chase has supported me from the beginning.
Is going to have
is out
problem
there.
One
Go to
day.
Wix.
It may not come now, but one day there will be a problem. Look at that. Before we get into it, and so let me explain what I mean by that. Let's try to look up fees generated by BTC layer 1. Let's see if we can find some actual data. Okay. Here's the problem with BTC. And this is the problem that it'll face one day unless something changes. So if we come over here and we look at chain fees, and if we understand how Bitcoin operates, okay, Bitcoin layer 1, okay, I'm not talking about Lightning, none of that, because this is this big lie that everyone tells us. Whenever you're looking at Twitter and you see someone's like, oh, I bought a thing of Coca-Cola, or I bought a fruit from the fruit market with Bitcoin, and they do their little phone thing, and next thing you know, it takes off. Trust me, I love Bitcoin, right? I think it should be viewed as a store of value, but they have to figure out a way to generate fees. Okay, when you come back here and you look at this, you know, there was some big fees coming in back here, 11 million a day, 13 million a day. But if you look now, Bitcoin is generating 275K of fees. And so in order to break this down as to why this is a problem, we have to understand what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is a proof of work network, which means there's computing power all around the world securing the network. This is much different than proof of stake. Kaspa and Bitcoin are both proof of work. So what that means is that electricity is very expensive. This hardware is very expensive. The current price to mine a Bitcoin is approximately $60,000. Well, right now there is 3.125 BTC every block that's mined. So every 10 minutes, that's what comes out. Well, we've all heard of this halving, where that amount cuts in half, right? And it's been a catalyst because it's a supply shock. Well, let's fast forward 100, 200 years when there's no BTC coming out. That means that just at today, let's just say that day happened today. The day's not here yet, but let's say that today, no more BTC was mined. The network would go offline because every 10 minutes, there is 3 Bitcoin coming out, right? Which at today's prices is like $210,000, okay? The network for Bitcoin yesterday had $200,000 in fees. So the fees of Bitcoin will satisfy the network for 10 minutes for one block, essentially, if there was not BTC yield coming out. It's a huge problem nobody wants to talk about. Bitcoin has to figure out a way to generate fees on the layer 1, and it's not independent of Bitcoin. This is a proof of work problem. This is why Ethereum switched to proof of stake. And so if we come over here to the video I posted yesterday, I show these fees over here about how, and I'm trying to find it right here, but I'll show how they're not generating a ton of fees right now for Kaspa. But that is a problem. But it's a problem that is there's a plan and path for it, or there's a path with the plan. Ethereum recently copied what Kaspa is trying to do, but basically there's a hard fork that is going to eventually allow VPROGs, which is smart contract implementation for Kaspa. Kaspa is already 96% mined, okay, very similar to where BTC, but obviously the price of Kaspa is low. And so a proof of work network has to generate enough fees for the layer 1 to be sufficient without tokens being generated, without, any kind of supply being increased. And Bitcoin right now will have a problem one day. I mean, if there's somebody anywhere that sees this, because it's going to be a clip, I'm sure. If there's anyone that can argue against this, please, I would love to learn. I would love to have a debate with you about it. But there is no way that $210,000 a day in fees will keep the Bitcoin network alive. And it's not something people want to talk about, right? But it's the truth. It's the truth. And hopefully we have a long ways until that's actually a problem. But it will eventually be a problem if they're not able to figure out a way to generate fees. The other thing would be voting to essentially, and they could do this if the network voted on it, is to increase the supply, right? Or have some kind of tele missions that always come out to generate fees. Yeah, so let's get to some of these questions. I think you would do good voiceover for James Stewart. Oh, thank you, man. I had someone tell me I had a pleasant voice to listen to. And I was like, man, if I had a pleasant voice to listen to, why does my wife scream at me all the time? I don't know. But I'm just joking. I have a nice position within Paul Chain. I like what they've been doing. Is that part of Hex? Is that part of Robert Hart? Let me know. Loading BTC without fear. We'll continue to buy if as we follow the 200-week moving average happens every cycle. What about ETH fees? I think this is a very good question because Ethereum has what's called fragmented liquidity. Historically, Ethereum has not been able to have a ton of transactions. And when it did have a ton of transactions, fees were very, very expensive. That's why scaling solutions came about for Ethereum, right? To be able to have ETH scaled, right? So basically Base, Optimism, Arbitrum, all these layer 2 scaling solutions basically do what Lightning does now, Lightning for Bitcoin. Basically, they take all the transactions on this layer 2 and then they confirm them at once on the L1, okay? The problem is, even though Base Chain generates a lot of fees, even though Optimism, Arbitrum can generate a lot of fees, not a large portion of those fees go to the layer 1. So that's a problem. That's a problem with fractionalized liquidity. So whenever you come down here and you take a look at ETH fees also are low. Let's come over here, take a look. Boom. Okay. You could see in the days that there was, NFTs and all of that happening to mainnet ETH, chain fees were like $80 million. I mean, I remember paying $500 to mint an NFT. And that NFT, that's probably one of my worst investments of all time. But you can see how big these fees were. But then if you come down here and just kind of look from the time that like Base Chain came out and things like that, that the fees have just reduced major. And so I think part of what Vitalik came out and said recently about layer 2s are no longer needed for scaling solutions because Ethereum's doing updates in order to make it be able to still be cheap and be able to scale. And I mean, Vitalik's seen the writing on the wall with fees, right? That's why they switched to proof of stake, in my personal opinion, because it used to be proof of work, computing power, the same thing, right? And so if we come over here and we look, Ethereum mainnet, let's just pick a random date so we can compare. Okay, let's look. January 1st, 2026, 233K in fees. But let's come over here and let's take a look at Base, the #1 layer 2 on Ethereum. And we look at chain fees. Let's go find the same day, January 1, 50,000 in fees. So 20% of the fees that Ethereum mainnet could have generated was on Base Chain. If we come over here and look at like one of these popular days, February 3rd, over $500,000 in fees. Okay, so now let's go look at February 3rd over on Ethereum. February 3rd. It's hard for me to find it in here, but it's somewhere like not very, large. So like February 3rd. So this is a week, 8 mil for the week. But let's come over here and we'll switch this to weekly if we can, or maybe it doesn't let me. But anyways, so to answer the question about ETH fees, yeah, I mean, there's fragmented liquidity, which is why on Kaspa, I don't believe in the layer 2 scaling solutions that have came in out. Like, I appreciate Igra and whoever else has been doing it. But, the problem with layer 2 scaling solutions, the problem with Lightning Network and all of that is that enough of the fees do not go to the mainnet. And this is a problem that Bitcoin people don't want to talk about right now. And if there's anybody that has a solution for it, please let me know. I would absolutely love to talk about it. I don't think it's something that we have to worry about right now, right? But, if you're leaving BTC for your great-great-grandchildren, it may be something that, you have to worry about. Very good video on CAS earlier, by the way. Hey, I appreciate it. Try to do at least 1, maybe 2 CAS videos a week. Let's see this. At 115, I took off my investment a little bit more. So meaning you took initials out and a little bit of profit. Cool. Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. That was in response to this earlier. Bought 2 BTC at 115K. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry. I don't know what happened to X. I don't know why X didn't share the live stream. I really don't. We'd probably be at like 400 or 500 people right now if it hadn't messed up like that. Maybe I need to contact look at this. Finally caught my boy Finance Freeman on a live. Windshield time for the win. If you haven't caught his live yet, I highly recommend. Man, what is this? Man, you got too much money, Brian. Man, I don't got this in my car. What is this? I'm up here. I'm here. I wonder if that counts as 2 views. I'm going to retweet that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Shout out. Shout out my boy. Very good guy. Met him at On-Chain Summit. He's the dev of Broke. And if you like base chain, he's great. They have a company called CME, and let's try to find it. Creative Meme Endeavor, and they have a launch pad that we can go look at. You know, some people don't like meme coins. Some people do like meme coins. I think they're community coins. I think they have a place in my portfolio, like 5% potentially of my portfolio, something like that. But it's definitely not something. But these are just really good guys. Like there's another one called Moonsend that just everything launched their rugs. Like, you know, and I'm not saying the market going down. I'm talking about like actually like rugging. So I don't support those guys, but I do support CME. And I think they're a great people with great morals. So since ETH is having a major update on relying on its own transaction, what's going to happen for the L2s? Yeah, it's a good question. It's a good question because, you know, let's go look at what Vitalik said. And I had to tell him, I was like, Vitalik, not that he even knows that I exist, right? I'm not acting like he knows that I exist. But Ethereum was tanking. The ETH Foundation and Vitalik was selling, and he kept tweeting just fudding layer 2 scaling solution. I'm like, dude, shut up. Shut up. But let's take a look. Okay, so he made a decision. Let me see. ENS names. Let me try to find the post. But basically, okay, there's recently been some discussion on the ongoing role of L2s in the Ethereum ecosystem, especially in the face of 2 facts. L2's progress to stage 2, yada, yada, yada. L1 itself, here's the thing. L1 itself is scaling. Fees are very low, and gas limits are projected to increase greatly in 2026. So this is a you know, problem. And it's why I said in the stream a couple days ago that Optimism, Arbitrum, Polygon, you know, even Base, if Base had a coin right now, I don't know if that's something that makes sense for my portfolio right now. Now, utilizing the Base chain layer 2 is totally different than owning a Base token, right? Which does not exist now. It's Ethereum, Base Ethereum. So it's the same, basically a wrapped version of mainnet Ethereum on Base, right? That's what they use. I think it should stay that way. No reason to have a token. But what Vitalik said is that, you know, Ethereum scaling solutions, or layer 2s, Base, Arbitrum, Optimism, they were originally made to scale. That's absolutely it. But that this vision no longer makes sense. L1 does not need L2s to be branded shards because the L1 itself is scaling, right? And L2s are not able to or willing to satisfy the properties that a true branding shard would make. And so he says that if he was an L2, this is what he would do. Identify a value add other than scaling. Examples: non-EVM specialized features, efficiency, truly extreme levels of scaling that will expand the L1. Or he goes on to mention in a different post about making it like the AI chain or this chain or that chain. And I think that's what Base needs to do right now. I think that Base needs to go all in on AI agents. I think that they need to drop tokenizing tweets because nobody cares about that. They've even kind of seemed to abandon Zora recently. And so it's a really good question. Have you seen DigiByte and their new Digi Dollar innovation? No, I haven't. DigiByte. I think I've heard of that, but man, that's definitely got to be up there with top 3 worst names. DigiByte. I don't like the name, but let's go through. What is it? 75 mil market cap. What is it? Is this a layer 1? Yeah, layer 1. Listed on Binance, Upbid, OKX. So they're listed about everywhere except for Coinbase, it looks like. DigiByte is an open source blockchain and asset creation platform. Wow, been around a long time. Oh, this was a Bitcoin fork? Like Litecoin and everything? Wow. Where have I been? Huh. I mean, honestly, this is the type of charts I like to bid. Because just look, you see where it's at now? Imagine this was back then. You know what I mean? Like, so, huh. Diggy buy. Let's go take a look. More secure, faster, forward-thinking. DigiBuy is more than a fast digital currency. It's an innovative blockchain that can be used for digital assets. But so this is obviously proof of work, right? So they need to generate fees or have some kind of telemission or something like that, right? It's interesting. Let's come over here, see if we have any Clarity Act news. What time is the news? So there's a closed door meeting going on right now, or it'll be going on in a couple hours. It's going on at 2:30 Eastern time. Thank you, bro. You're a real G. What up, dog? No, I appreciate it, man. Is Kaspa going down to 0.22? I mean, I'm guessing 2.2 cents, not 22 cents. But I get you, man. I get you. I get you. Let's go look at Cas. Let's see. Let's come over here. And since we had a lot of people join the stream because X was bugging and didn't repost it, guys, there will be a link. Blofin's the official stream sponsor for us. That's where I do all my trades if you want to check out. And they got Cas. 0.22, you know, I think would make sense. I do. We really, you know, what I showed earlier was that Ethereum bottomed last cycle in May or June, right? Bitcoin bottomed in October, November. And so when we take a look at that, when we have this, right, or if we go back a year, you can see there's only been a couple things that are up. Like, I mean, seriously, look, this is going back a year, guys. Look at how bad these alts are down. Like, alts can only go down so low. Like, I mean, zero is obviously an option for a lot of them. But they can only go down so low, right? When we look at them, I mean, you know, they've been sold off horribly, horribly. So if we just take a look at cash right here, we draw a fib, we go from swing low to swing high. You come up here, you can see it past the 786 fib level. Something I often look for is the 886 fib level. So it probably won't be on your chart, but you can just go at it just like that. And you see that gets us to, you know, about 2.3 cents. If we increase this to go there, you know, yeah, on different charts I found 2.5 cents, something like that. But that's, you know, that's where I would like to see it stop. You can also, you know, if you don't want to just rely on fibs, you know, you can also go look at structural support. And obviously nobody knows where these things will bottom or top at, but you know, all you can really do is do your best analysis. So if we look right here at this low right here, you obviously have support a little over 1 cent. You know, I'm sure a lot of people have orders at 1 cent, but you know, if Cas is bullish, right? If Cas is bullish, how we can measure these things is come here and let's just say it bottoms. Let's just say the bottom's in, right? Then you can start looking at targets, like fib targets, right? Like a full extension's 4.236. Like gold did over that, right? Gold did over a 4.236 extension, which is considered a full Fibonacci extension. That was the first time I'd ever seen something do like over that type of extension, unless it was like a very micro cap meme coin or something, you know. But, you know, these are kind of some targets, loose targets that people can take into consideration. But, you know, what I'm bullish on Kaspa for, and I highlighted in the video, is when it moves more so than the rest of the market. So what I mean by this is like, this coin might have went up 5%, right? But it stayed at 64th spot, right? So what I'm looking for is Kaspa growing market share? Like we know it hit as high as like 29 one time, right? And it fell down from that. Well, Cas, like last week, I'd have to go back and look at my video, but it was like 63rd, 64th. You know, I think Algorand was like 67th. And so when I'm looking at like those two, they're gaining mind share. You know, that's what I want to look about. Like, not are you just getting a participation trophy because the whole market goes up, but as you go up, are you going up more relative to the other assets, right? Like that's what I'm looking for. And so, you know, these, like those fibs that I showed on Cas, like what if Kaspa truly is with VProgs able to get real builders coming on smart contract? The VProgs is essentially the smart contracts. And I'm trying to get Michael Sutton up here, guys. Everybody tag Michael Sutton in these clips. He seemed like he was willing to come up when we commented back and forth on X, but I would love to have him up to try to explain Kaspa technology to the masses, like instead of like a PhD level. Like I don't want to have to go to like Harvard to be able to understand what's going on with Kaspa. Like I want to be able to understand it as a dude that's just on YouTube talking. And I'm like, I mean, I consider myself knowledgeable in finance. I consider myself knowledgeable in tech, but I'm definitely not like a PhD level, you know, tech nerd or anything like that. But, you know, what if Kaspa is able to get like into this, you know, this area? Like, I mean, if we come to market cap of, let me try to find it. You know, let's just look at like some wild, you know, potential, you know. So where is this at? Like, let's just say that Kaspa is able to gain market share. And let's just say it's able to get to right outside of the top 20. So let's say Litecoin, for instance, you know. So let's say LTC, right? You know, just where it's at today, that's already a 15-cent Cas, you know, and if you go to all-time high, that's a 95-cent Cas, right? And, but what if we're like, you know what, this is a lot better than that. Like, let's say that Bitcoin, obviously, you know, is granddaddy of them all for now. Ethereum has the most total value locked. XRP, obviously, isn't going anywhere. BNB is wrapped up as long as Binance is still there. Solana, it's fine. Let's say Tron. Tron, y'all know that's one that I do not like, guys. I don't like Tron. And if somebody likes Tron, it's almost hard for me to trust them. I'm like, I don't know. I just don't like Tron. I no reason for it, in my opinion. So let's say that, you know, Kaspa is able to get there, right? And this is all big hypotheticals and not financial advice, guys. So just keep all that in mind. But you know, just that alone at the current market cap, and Tron's down a lot. That's 98 cents. What about Tron all-time high? I mean, that's $1.34. You know, if you look at something like Cardano, which is very, like, has very little DeFi adoption, you know, it's currently 35 cents, all-time high, you know, 355. So, I mean, these are really bullish, like, outlooks or potentials, but the reason I like to look at that is because it's actively happening. Like I said, you know, Cas went from 63, 64 to now 59. But they're just beat down so bad. So it wouldn't surprise me if we did see altcoins bottom over summer and BTC bottom over like Q3, like September or October. It wouldn't surprise me at all. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Look up DigiDollar. Yeah, I'll sure do some deeper research into it, man. Thank you. So what is the news we are getting in 5 minutes? 5 minutes. So there's a closed door meeting happening with all the big banks that we went over. That's this right here. The White House will host representatives from the banking and crypto industries this afternoon at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time for the second iteration of stablecoins. If you're just joining in, the big hang up right now is banks do not want entities such as Coinbase to be able to pay stablecoin yield. There's a huge difference between what banks do and what stablecoins do. Fractionalized lending with banks Whereas they take in $100 and they can lend out $800, for instance. Whereas stablecoins, with the Genius Act, they're now backed 1-to-1 with short-term U.S. Treasury. So it's a totally different thing. Plus, with stablecoin lending, someone has to opt into that. And versus fractionalized lending, nobody has to opt into that. Do you remember when Bitcoin was 100K and ETH was 1.5 and now it's 2K while BTC is 68K? Yeah, I do. And in fact, I showed something funny the other day. If we come over here and you click on oldest, I'll never delete any of these because I think it's inspirational and it makes me feel good to look at how.
Here's how to find some of the top stocks to.
I want to show you something funny on one of my first videos I ever had. If you look at this, Bitcoin was 41K and ETH was 2,500. BNB was 300. And so pretty crazy when you take a look at it right there. Does it say how many coins? 2 million plus cryptos existed at this time. What if we, let's go to CoinMarketCap now. What does that say? Did they delete that part? They're probably like, there's just way too many to even count now. Yeah, it's just funny to look at, like, you know, how the prices went. You know, there's just tons and tons and tons of crypto. But yeah, I mean, Ethereum obviously is leading DeFi right now. And that's the reason you see Tom Lee going so hard into it. Wall Street is going to be tokenized on Ethereum primarily because, one, it already has the liquidity, all the DeFi. And number two, it's never shut down. Like, there's never been an outage. Solana has had outages. And so that's just something we have to look forward to. But guys, make sure you follow me over on X for sure. I'll keep you updated with everything going on in the Clarity Act. Let's see if there's anything new popping up right now. That's the same video that we watched earlier. Oh, wow. Look what Eleanor posted. Someone from Ripple is there. XRP Ripple is there representing. So maybe there is some truth to this. You know, if they're there, obviously they're, you know, huge in crypto. But somebody earlier was mentioning that there was that XRP might get yield. Ashley was saying that. And with one of the biggest topics being XRP or being stablecoin yield, maybe there is some truth to an XRP yield. Maybe that'll be coming out. That's something I really want to take a look at. That's really cool. Really excited. Before we log off, let's check. One OG Devs Weekend project is an entire network silver script. One man's trash is another man's silver. These are all people really big in Kaspa. Jonathan Sompolinski is the founder. Michael Sutton's one of the largest devs for it, or engineers, whatever you want to call it. We're making the base app the best place to trade. 1% fee. Yeah, base app does have high fees. Crypto things you missed. Trump regrets his Fed chair pick, and that's been misconstrued a lot. He was not talking about his recent Fed chair pick. He was actually talking about when he appointed Jerome Powell, he regrets not picking Kevin Warsh for that. Crypto Jet prediction: Bitcoin will fail to rally above 73K and start heading back down towards 60K within 45 days. Yeah, I think a lot of people think that. Mr. Beast acquired a bank. Look, what I'm trying to bring to the crypto space, like Razmir, I like his clip. Seems like a good young dude. But what I'm trying to bring is, like, I'm the family guy, right? You know, we've got a lot of DJing kids. I say kids, right? You know, I'm a little over 30, but I got kids, I got family, I got stuff like that. I'm trying to bring a different perspective to crypto. You know, I'm a family man. I got people to feed. I got stuff like that, right? And so I'm trying to bring that here. So White House decides fate of crypto legislation in meeting today. Yeah, it's going to be big. It's going to be big. And this is definitely a catalyst that we have to look forward to. Let's see what these people said about BTC and if the bottom's in. Let's take a look. But I don't trust any of their opinion that it's actually genuine.
That's how I teased it. You have a number in mind. What is it?
I actually think there's a reasonable chance we saw the bottom last week at 60,000. There's a couple of reasons for that. First and foremost, $60,000 is the cash production cost for a new Bitcoin.
Okay.
So what happens is when you get below that, the weak miners start going out of business. They shut down, and they're the main source of marginal selling pressures. So when the weak hand
Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me know my mic was muted. My kids tore up my headphones, and so I try to mute it whenever I'm showing a video so that y'all don't get any back feed. But what I was saying was that he's right about the miners. And so when we come over here and we look, you could see that when the price of BTC went down, miners turned off, therefore the hash rate, the electricity protecting the Bitcoin network, turned off, and now they've turned back on, right? But I think I've learned a long time ago not to fade the chart, and that the chart will tell you what you need to know. And what the chart's telling me now, never financial advice, could be completely wrong, but I think best case scenario, we at least sweep these lows to meet up with the 200-day or 200-week simple moving average. I think that's best case scenario, but I just think the market needs time to heal. And what I would be looking at more so than Bitcoin is looking at the stock market, because if the stock market goes down, what's the odds that crypto pumps, right? I mean, like, what's the odds? If this was a double top right here on the Qs, this was a double top on the Qs, where are we heading? Obviously we want to protect this low right here. This is a pretty big area if we're just looking here, because it was resistance right here, then it acted as support right here, then it was support right here. But this is the Liberation Day lows down there. I mean, if we revisited that, that's a steep drop, 35. That's a very big correction for the stock market, but let's say we see 25%, or even let's say 18%, which brings us up to this level right here. What's that going to do to BTC? That's kind of the challenge we have right now with BTC, is that we've seen the huge sell-off already with Bitcoin. We know it trades like a tech stock pretty much, but we've already seen the huge sell-off. So what happens if, we do go down another, 30%, 40%, it could bring us to some key levels, which wouldn't be crazy. Like I showed earlier, if we look at this trend line, it matched up to the trend line. But if you take a look at the moving average right here, you could see BTC dropped 31% under the moving average. And keep in mind, the lower the price goes, the lower the moving average goes. But if we dropped 31% under the moving average, that would put us at about 39K, for BTC. So nobody knows. I definitely don't have a crystal ball, but I definitely appreciate y'all telling me that my audio was off. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe that's how I get the comments. Maybe that could be a search engine optimization and engagement thing. Maybe I'll start the next stream like this. And then I get a whole bunch of people comment, hey, dude, your mic's off. Your mic's off. Bah, 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 bah. I like that. I like that. But guys, we got to stay here. If you're here, you're not going anywhere. If you're here supporting crypto, you're not going absolutely anywhere. You're already here. You're still here, right? What isn't here is the people that left and the people that will be back. Because once you come into crypto, you will be back. You will understand that we are changing the world of finance. You will understand that what we are doing here in cryptocurrency, that the world is right now on an antiquated financial path. If you want to send money overseas, it takes days for that money to get there. You know, what Western Union does and what those type of mediums do is, if I'm sending to have family in Russia, if I'm sending money to Russia, Western Union, and I send $100, they're going to charge me $5 to do it. So $105, right? And then my family can go over there and get a $100 bill. But it's not actually the money that I sent, right? That's where the fee's coming from, because they already have money over there. And so they're basically taking my money and then giving money that someone else already has. However, with stable coins, if I don't need to pay somebody, they get it in 2 seconds. You know, so blockchain technology is going to change the world. And what our job is to find what are the assets that are going to change the world. When we look at all of this fluff, all throughout here, when we look at all this fluff, all hundreds of pages of it, when we look at all of this, when we look at all of this, when we look at all of this, 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 what is the fluff and what is the real projects that are going to change the world? Whether that's real world asset tokenization of stocks, whether that's tokenization of real estate, medical records, or whether that's bringing artificial intelligence on chain, something that I think is a must for humanity. We have to have transparent, open source artificial intelligence on chain. Too many dangers associated to not do it, guys. So we're going to wrap up the live stream right there. If you don't follow me over on X, make sure you do. I always keep you up to date 24/7. I don't care what time it is. I wake up in the middle of the night, send a tweet if it's some important news, and subscribe over on YouTube. Hit that bell notification. You see, we've came a long ways from the pink room, guys, on a laptop with no camera. We've came a long ways, over 1 million views total. I'm so proud of that and so thankful for everything. And if you're looking for somewhere to trade, you can check out Blofin. They are the stream sponsor, and without them, not all this would be possible. And without you guys, it definitely wouldn't be possible, because I couldn't sit here and talk to myself. So I love you all. We will see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time.